Honduras is for me a very dear country. I started working with Honduras in 2012. My very first time I heard about this country, it was when I was a child, and my father, as a diplomat, used to travel to Tegucigalpa, and I was like, oh, what a weird name, and I tried to repeat Tegucigalpa. So the first time as an adult I heard about this city, I was very curious. So as you know, for sure now the news are talking a lot about Honduras. Both Tegucigalpa and San Pedro Sula are considered the most dangerous cities in the world. They have actually a very high homicide rate, and they are a country not at war, so this is really scary. So I was really well briefed before traveling to Honduras, and the main message was you cannot walk in the street, you cannot just go out by yourself, you must be very careful. So you stay in the hotel, you can go to the meeting with a car, you must be accompanied, and there was this kind of feeling of fear that I had when I was traveling to Honduras. So I went back to my childhood when I was 7 years old, and I remember after dinner my parents were watching a film, and I was willing to stay with them, and they say, no, you're too small, you need to go to bed. And I said, well, I don't want to go to bed, I want to stay with you, and my brother and sister were there, and why not? Why can I stay? I said, no, go to bed. So, of course, I didn't went to bed, and I was looking at the film behind the door. And it was, I think, a science fiction film, a horror film, where people were living in a country where there was something in the air that would kill you. And it was an invisible seed that you would breathe, and then you would die because you would have plants going out of your belly. I don't know if the film really exists, because I was so afraid that I never Googled it. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, because I was really shocked. So when I was in Honduras, I have been visiting San Pedro Sula and also some neighborhoods in Tegucigalpa, because we needed to work in the country, so we needed to know the communities and the beneficiaries of our activities. And I remember that once the car has stopped around 2 or 3 blocks from the place where we had to have the meeting. And the driver said, okay, the road is interrupted. I cannot bring you to the meeting unless you walk. And you know, normally you just step out of the car and you walk to the meeting. So we figured that maybe that was not a good idea, and we discussed among us in the car, and then we decided, well, let's go. I mean, it cannot be that dangerous that you cannot walk a few blocks. So I went out of the car, and I felt like I was walking in the water. It was difficult to do every step, and I was thinking, is there something in the air? Because what I was seeing is children in the street, elderly, people talking. There was a normal street, nothing really different. So it's the pressure you have when you know the things. So this is to link it with the children living in these communities. The children in the difficult communities in San Pedro Sula, they know exactly who their enemy is. It's the violence, the fear, the prevarication, the crime rate, the insecurity. So they live trapped in their own surroundings. And you know, when you are a child, you think that what you see is normal. When you see your mother having a fight with your father, and then a violent act is going on, and the day after you see that the mother is cooking for the father, you just start thinking that's how it works. I mean, there is nothing wrong. You feel that something is wrong when you're a kid, but you just get used to it. So the kids in San Pedro Sula are trapped in this circle of violence. They may not go to school because they cannot afford the fees for the school, but there are also schools that are controlled by gang members, so they cannot just walk without protection. So we had the chance to work with a small group of boys and girls They were from 18 to 25 years old, from this difficult community called Chamelecon. And they wanted to go further. They were really frustrated about the stigmatization and the frustration of being part of this community. They couldn't find a job just because they were saying they come from Chamelecon. And people don't want to hire people from there because they think they are all criminals. So we had selected a group of 10 young people, and we thought that aside of what we do with officially with the institution, establishing protocols to address violence, domestic violence, and creating committees and working on the policy level to address violence in the communities, we decided that we had to do something for the beneficiaries, because as I was saying, you are not born with the idea of what is a human right, so you are not always aware that your human rights are violated. So we thought, okay, let's talk about something different as the classical divulgation strategy or communication strategy. Let's try to do something with the people. So we started thinking about using the photography to make them aware of what is a human right. So there were 10 young people, all with difficult background. One was in jail and just was released. Another one was victim of violence, domestic violence. Another one had a small baby when he was 15 years old, and so on and so forth. All difficult situations. They were very interested because they were really keen to get out of this stigmatization. They are really sick and tired of the social exclusion. So we said, okay, let's try to have some workshops where we are going to talk in an interactive way of what do you think is a human right? And then we go with the cameras, take pictures in the community. And you will see if, as our Vietnamese friend was saying, the change is starting with you. If you believe that you don't deserve the stigmatization, you need to do something. You need to get out of it. You need to show to the world that you are somebody who is worth it. So they understood that we were giving them the chance to do something for their life and for their future. And they were immediately very keen to learn, and they were very surprised about basic human rights they didn't know. They don't know that you have the right to be left alone. You cannot be robbed or kidnapped and this kind of thing, which is the usual day-to-day for them. We had the chance to make this little change in them. They became agents of change. They became to change themselves and also their family and their surrounding. So at the end of the whole process, we really saw the difference between the beginning and the end. And out of 10, only 7 could finish the course, only 2 women, actually. And the good thing is that there is no happy ending because we just started. So out of 7, 2 have now registered to the Chamber of Commerce, and they decided to become photographers. Another one has found a job, and another one has decided to continue working and become a professional photographer. And that's how we will continue. We will most probably also continue with other communities. It was a pilot project, starting small, but as you say, we need to start with something, and then you can see the impact. Thank you very much.